How you doing, guys? It's Mike Dunlap from hoopshabit.com. Today I'm here to talk to you about the top 5 teams headed into the 2012-2013 NBA season. Let's get started with number 5. What can we say about the San Antonio Spurs that we haven't said before? Yes, they're old. Every single year, we say the same thing. Oh, this is probably the year that they're not going to do it. This is probably the year they're going to drop off. But every single year, Greg Popovich has his squad ready to compete, and they come out and they shock people. They did the same thing last year. They went 50-16 and finished first in the Southwest Division and first in the Western Conference. They were tied with the Chicago Bulls for the best record in the entire league. They had that tremendous 20-game winning streak at the end of the regular season that went into the playoffs. They even had a 2-0 lead over the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Of course, things fell apart. They lost 4 in a row, and they found themselves sitting at home. This year, they bring back basically the same roster that did all of that last year. They've got their version of the Big Three: Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. Next to them, they've got some young, budding stars in Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, and a couple of really valuable role players like Steven Jackson, Boris Diaw, and if they can get the same kind of performance out of Patty Mills that he gave in the Olympics for Australia, they're going to be in good shape. I'll tell you one thing about the Spurs. It is a bad idea to ever bet against them. Tim Duncan is one of the best power forwards to ever play the game. If you're going to bet against that, it's at your own risk. Number 4 on our list is the Boston Celtics. They went 39-27 last year, which was good for first in the Atlantic Division and fourth in the Eastern Conference. Now let's not forget, this is the team that had the Miami Heat on the ropes last year. They were up 3-2 before Super Bron showed up and made sure none of that was happening. This year, they did something very impressive. It looked like the Big Three era was over. You had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen embracing on the sidelines with tears in their eyes as if the era was over. Instead, what happened was Ray Allen left for the Miami Heat, but the other guys stayed. So now you've got the old guard of Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce to go together with some new guys, Courtney Lee and returning healthy Jeff Green. They're going to be huge because they provide some defense and athleticism on the wing, which is something they lacked last year. Rajon Rondo is a triple-double threat every time he steps on the court. He is a budding superstar, and although he's not the best shooter in the league, it doesn't matter because he is so good at everything else. If there's one thing standing in the way, I look at this. Kevin Garnett, he's shown with over 40,000 minutes of play that he cannot have that grueling schedule. They've really got to watch his minutes and make sure that he stays fresh. For Paul Pierce, last year in the playoffs, he looked finished. He wasn't bad, he was terrible. He was missing jump shots, taking too many jump shots. Instead of the guy that we're used to, who can get himself to the free throw line over and over and over, he was settling. Was he not aggressive because of an injury? He did say he was nursing one, but he's still an older guy now, and I don't see this as his team. For the Celtics this year, I can't see any other finish but the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals again. And what a matchup that would be. Hopefully it would be a 7-game, knockdown, drag-out dogfight between these two. Whoever can gain home court advantage in the regular season wins that and goes on to the finals. The number 3 team on our list is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had a special year last year. They finished 47-19, good for first in the Northwest Division and second in the Western Conference. They made it all the way into the NBA Finals, where, as most of you know, they lost in 5 games to the Miami Heat. However, consider where the season began. We were wondering if Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant could coexist on a team. At the end of the season, they were playing such a wonderful brand of basketball that those thoughts completely left us. The experience that they gained throughout the year and the chemistry that they built together is going to carry forward and be huge for them next year. As the 2012-13 season comes along, they didn't change anything. They brought back all of the same players. They did draft Perry Jones III, who could turn into something down the line, but I don't expect him to have a whole lot of contribution this year. and brought in Hasheem Thabeet to try to shore up the middle. Right now, they've got Kendrick Perkins as their center. Now, I'm sorry, but he is not a starting center in the NBA. Last year, you had Shane Battier guarding him on the defensive end. No disrespect to Battier, but if he's guarding your center and your center is not dominating him, there's a problem. For Durant and Westbrook, the key this year is going to be more of the same. Durant is an offensive genius, and he showed it in the Olympics where he was raining down threes like mad. For Russell Westbrook, he needs to continue playing with that chip on his shoulder. His angry play and the way that he takes the ball to the basket makes him one of the most exciting players in the NBA. You can't take your eyes off of him because you don't know when he's going to have that Vince Carter moment of dunking over somebody. He's going to do it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's this year. For the Thunder this year, it's going to come down to what they can do with that center. They're going to have to face the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and if they do, that Dwight Howard matchup against Kendrick Perkins is going to be a huge problem for them. If they can't deal with that, if they can't get perhaps Thabeet in there to play some defense and bang with Dwight Howard, they're going to be in trouble. The most likely scenario for me, I see the Lakers beating the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals and moving on to the NBA Finals. The Los Angeles Lakers are number 2 on our list. They went 41-25 last year, good for first in the Pacific Division and third in the Western Conference. Last year, they sleptwalk a bit through the regular season, got into the playoffs, and were doing quite well. Went 7 games with the Denver Nuggets, who are a strong, up-and-coming team, no shame in that. But against the Oklahoma City Thunder, they looked out of sorts at times, especially at the end of games. This isn't a slight towards Kobe Bryant because he is one of the best players in the NBA, but his focus looked off. They didn't have another guy to bring the team together and hold that focus. Andrew Bynum was off shooting three-pointers, looking off into the stands during huddles, and it was just a mess. A lot of that went on to Mike Brown, but a lot of it has to go on the players too. This year, they've brought in Steve Nash to help that problem. He's a veteran guy who can make shots, and he makes everybody around him better. They also brought in Dwight Howard, one of the best defensive players in the league. If he's healthy, he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every single year. They also brought in Anton Jamison, a guy that can really score, to come off the bench. That's going to help because you cannot play Kobe Bryant 38, 39 minutes anymore. He's getting to the point where he needs to worry about keeping fresh. So, for the Lakers this year, I see them getting through the regular season in a similar fashion. They're going to have to learn how to play together. Just like the Miami Heat did, it is a process. But once they get to the playoffs, I see them turning it up a notch. They're going to get to the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm expecting the Lakers to pass up the Thunder this year and get to the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat, where they will not win. It's going to be the same kind of situation as the Heat, where they get there in that first year, but they haven't quite developed enough chemistry together to get it done. Next year, probably their year. Number 1 on our list is the defending champion Miami Heat. They went 46-20 last year, which got them first place in the Southeast Division and second in the Eastern Conference. They returned their same starting lineup as last year, including the big 3 of LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. They've added a couple of guys to help spread the floor as well. The most prolific three-point shooter in NBA history, Ray Allen, and Rashard Lewis, who himself was an awfully good three-point shooter in his prime. Now, some would say the Los Angeles Lakers have a better starting 5, and I can't disagree with that. But until the Heat are knocked off of this mountaintop, I'm not ready to call them anything but the favorites to win the NBA title. LeBron James showed us last year that he is the best basketball player alive. A regular season MVP, a finals MVP, and an Olympic gold medal showed that he truly is a combination of Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. Will he ever be as good as either of those guys individually? Another couple of years of doing what he's doing right now, showing us a new level of basketball and setting the mold for future players. A big player, 6'8", 260 pounds, looks like a tight end, runs like a gazelle, dribbles like a point guard. Is there any better player in the NBA? I challenge you to find him, and I don't think you will. For the finals, I've got the Miami Heat over the Los Angeles Lakers in 6 games. The Lakers will come back strong the next year, but it's still the Miami Heat in 2012-2013. Thank you very much for listening. Check us out over at hoopshabit.com. Subscribe to our YouTube feed, and you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter.